whole world watched Theresa May this week. We want to talk about that. Britain getting ready to head to the polls for the third time in just 2 years after the Prime Minister, Theresa May, called for an early general election this June. Now, that was a surprise to a lot of people when she said that earlier this week, the decision receiving overwhelming support from Parliament. Tell us about this decision. Why call for a snap election, sir?
Because as we go into the negotiations with the European Union, the Prime Minister needs to strengthen her hand. She needs the European partners that we're negotiating with to know that when she sits at the table with them, she has the full authority of a clear mandate from the British people, the full authority to deliver in Parliament. And by calling this election now, by getting that clear mandate, she strengthens her hands in the negotiation. She silences voices in the UK that are still questioning whether what we are doing here is the right way to go forward.
And markets reacted as well. Were you surprised at what happened to the British pound?
Well, I was expecting markets to react positively, but it was very reassuring to see that the markets, when they thought about it for 30 minutes and realized what she was doing here, strengthening her hand in order to get the best possible deal for Britain, ensuring that when we win this election, hopefully with an increased majority, we'll have a strong leader in an unassailable position for the next 5 years. Markets love certainty, and that will give them increased certainty.
And do you feel certainty around your exit from the European Union?
Increasingly, I'm feeling confident about the way the negotiations will go.
You are?
After the referendum last year, there was a lot of pain in Europe. There was a lot of hostility towards the UK. Much of that has subsided now. The level heads have taken over. There is a serious discussion going on about how we can do this in a way that works for the UK and works for the European Union so that we protect our economies and we ensure the best outcome for all our people, all our businesses.
That's very good to hear, actually. Let me ask you about what we're all watching as well, and that's the French election.
Yeah.
So the French election is next week. It's set to be the most unpredictable election in decades. What are you expecting? How does this vote affect the dynamic in the European Union? Brits are watching it as well.
Well, the French election is certainly a cliffhanger. Of course, we won't start formally our negotiations with the European Union until after the French election is out of the way. But the outcome is important, and clearly, if one of the mainstream candidates wins, the European Union will sigh a collective sigh of relief. If one of the non-mainstream candidates wins, either Mr. Mélenchon or Madame Le Pen, that would, of course, change the dynamic very significantly. But it's for the French people to decide the outcome of the French election. I got my own election to worry about.
Of course, but I mean, depending on who does win, that's going to dictate the agenda, obviously. So that's why it's being watched so closely.
It's certainly going to have an important impact on the future direction of travel of the European Union.
You know, when you were negotiating and talking about exiting the European Union, there was all this hysteria about Britain's economy is going to plummet. Meanwhile, right after, you saw actual good economic indicators. How do you characterize things right now in Britain?
Good. The economy's in good shape. The IMF just yesterday revised up its estimate for this year from 1.5 to 2% growth. That'll put us second only to the United States among the major developed economies this year and next year as well. So we're in good shape, and consumers are continuing to be highly confident. Business investment is a little bit off from what we would really like, but we've taken supportive action. The Bank of England's taken monetary action to support the economy. We've provided some modest fiscal stimulus, and the economy is looking in good shape.
Once you exit the EU, what's the priority in terms of growth of Britain?
Well, we have a particular problem in Britain, which is that our productivity lags way behind the United States and our major European competitors. So that is our number one focus, investing in skills, in infrastructure. One of the challenges of having done a lot of things first, built our railways first, for example, is some of them now need very large amounts of investment to bring them up to date.
Sounds familiar.
So that's our focus.
Yeah. Chancellor, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us this morning. A lot of information. Chancellor Philip Hammond joining us there.